All right, hi folks, Steven here. Little bit of a different setup. If you saw our Pokemon 25, the album discussion from last month, you may recognize this. To sort of improve, hopefully, the quality of the audio here, I'm using a somewhat different setup. The bad news is it doesn't really allow me to use a camera, but I do still have the usual slideshow that we're going to be seeing. So this is going to be a recap of Pokemon Go Community Day December 2021, which was this last weekend. Technically, it was weekend because it was both Saturday and Sunday. They tried a number of rather interesting things, I guess, is one way to put it. We'll see how much of it was successful, but I will be talking about my time each day. So that's sort of the lay of the land there. If you do want to share any of your experiences, go ahead and give us a comment. You can do that in the chat if you're watching this live or as a comment on this video, and I will try and work those in. We'll also have a few other pieces of business. I will be talking a little bit about the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy Randomizer. I put out some new stuff recently on there, as well as, let's see, some new podcast episodes. So we've got quite a bit to go through, and I don't want to delay the presentation too much longer, so let me go ahead and get that started. All right, well, we like to start out with weather, and all this weather is for the Madison area over the weekend, as well as last month's Community Day. You may remember we did not do a live stream last month for Community Day. That was mainly because we did a live stream anyway during Community Day, because that's when we did our Pokemon 25, the album discussion with Anne, which ended up being on the 21st. We had hoped to do it the day before, but Anne's life intervened, and we had to move it to the same day as the Community Day. I did finish the task that day, but in any case, last month on the 21st, the high in Madison was 52, the low was 35. So for this last weekend, Saturday, we had a high of 32, low of 22. Those are pretty close to normal. And likewise, on Sunday, we had a high of 31 and 22. Wind was about 8 miles an hour, so not super low, not as high as it could have been. So in case you weren't aware, earlier this week, here in Wisconsin, there was a big surge of warm air because the winds were coming heavily from the south. There was a big wind advisory on Wednesday last week, and we got up to 60-something, which was very near or at a record. So that kind of intervened with all of that. So definitely some changes in weather. I had to obviously prepare very differently for this weekend. All right, and I can certainly not accuse Pokemon Go of not having a ton of stuff going on, because they certainly did. You can see on the right there all the bonuses they had for Community Day weekend. There's also that Season of Heritage, which I have worked through pretty much everything on, actually, at this point. I got enough Stardust to get through all of those tasks. But this is not all of it, folks. Yeah, so it talks a little more about the Season of Heritage on the right, and then so you got the Pokemon Go holidays in the middle there, and also the Community Day weekend. So they had a lot of stuff going on this weekend. And of course, there's an event ticket, 99 cents. You do get to play from 11 to 5 each day, so it is kind of a nice bonus there. One of the bonuses is that extra EXP. One of my goals by the end of this year is to hopefully get halfway to my next level. I'm at 36. I'm trying to get to 37. And right now, as of the end of the weekend, I'm at somewhere in the 900,000 range of the 2 million experience you need to get to 37. So making some progress there. There was some stuff on sale. There's the usual adventure box, which I guess is out there the whole time. There's also the Ultra Ball thing that they usually do on Community Day weekend that lets you get free 30 Ultra Balls as long as you've got space in your inventory. There's also the event box, which gets you a remote raid pass and a few other things for 1 coin. Pretty good deal. And the Community Day box. I haven't picked up one of those for a while, but you can tell they've got some pretty decent stuff in there. Now, speaking of December Community Day, and also months where I did not do one of these, unfortunately. Last December, of course, they had the Community Day. You're going to see that the one they used this year was a fair bit different structurally. because last year you had to catch a bunch of the different Pokemon. I guess there were 11. They had to do some weird stuff because they had to skip a month last year because of the start of the pandemic. But you had to catch a bunch of them. And yeah, I was a little bitter at the end of that one because unfortunately the way it worked out is that the first two phases, those Pokemon were most prevalent during day 1. And the third and fourth phase were most prevalent during day 2. And because I didn't get all the way through phase 2 on day 1, I had very little chance of completing it on day 2, and in fact I didn't. So that was a little tick there. Probably also didn't help that last year there was actually a lot of snow around and some ice on places, including some of the sidewalks, and I actually tripped and fell. I'm quite okay, but I did not have a good time. That's another reason I did not do a presentation. Now, I had managed to finish phase 2 of that in the ensuing year, but here's where I started at the start of this community day on last December's community day. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to this at the end. All right, so day 1. So that's obviously Saturday. First off, I started right away on this year's tasks. Achieve the impossible. So we had a little statement from Professor Willow. Since this isn't about a singular specific Pokemon, it's more about the year in reflection. Obviously, his speeches here are a little bit different. You can see the tasks on the right. They look a lot like you would get on a normal community day, except that you have to power up Pokemon, you have to make some nice throws, and instead of catching a specific species of Pokemon, you have to catch 10 Pokemon that were featured during that year's community days. You do get some nice rewards. You notice one of those is a Sinnoh, I believe it's a Sinnoh Stone. I could be wrong about that one, but I'm pretty sure that's a Sinnoh Stone there, which is a nice little bonus. Considering that we got Dusknoir is one of them, that makes a lot of sense. I think Roserade is also on there. So that makes a lot of sense to have that as a reward. Overall, not too difficult there, especially that they were spawning all those different Pokemon. One of which was last month's community day, and since we didn't get to do a presentation there, we usually do a regular versus shiny comparison, so I figured I would do that for Shinx. So you'll have to excuse the fact that I think the one on the left is male and the one on the right is female, and they look just a little bit different, but you should have a pretty good idea there. So, of course, this is the one that you get the gold color, which I'm glad they don't do for everything. It does work, I think, fairly well here. And looks pretty nice. They also changed some of the stuff that was yellow to dark orange to give it more contrast. So I do enjoy this one. I'm glad they don't do this for every, obviously making everything gold. They do gold for Magikarp and a number of other ones, but certainly a noticeable one. We had talked earlier this year when we did Fletchling that the shiny for that is you have to look really close or know what you're looking for there. Shinx does not have that problem. So yeah, I actually didn't pick up a shiny Shinx during last month's community day. I picked up the one you see on the right during this last weekend, so that was kind of nice. All right, so second set of tasks here. Yeah, so here Professor Willow mentions Hoopa, which was very active during the latter half of the summer and I guess into the early fall, summoning a lot of legendaries and stuff like that. That was a big thing on Pokemon Go Fest weekend day 2, of course. But the tasks also very similar. So transfer 10 Pokemon, catch 15 Pokemon from the community days, and evolve 3 Pokemon. So pretty similar to what you would expect on like a 3-stage community day. It's just that it's less Pokemon specific. And you can see the rewards you get there, some Stardust, which is nice considering all the Stardust tasks that are going through right now. All right, so around this time I decided to take a lunch break. This video is not sponsored by anyone, but I went to the local Panera Bread location. I wasn't immensely hungry, so I didn't order a ton of food, but you can see I had some chicken noodle soup, an apple, a piece of bread that came with the meal, and some green tea. I had really kind of wanted to get some hot chocolate, but they were out. Their smoothie machine also was not working, which would have been my next choice, so I got some green tea. It wasn't the coldest thing ever, and I did try and prepare for this. I had flannel lined jeans, a coat, a mask, obviously, since that's kind of necessary still. And I even though those neck gaiters, they're not really good for blocking your breath to stop spreading germs, but they are really good for keeping your neck warm. And you can even put them over a mask and over your ears to help with that. So I did try and do that. It's got a little bit awkward in places just because with so many layers of clothing and other stuff I was carrying. But the food here was pretty good, about what I expected there. So that worked out okay. In any case, I did complete we got the third set test, which look also very familiar, curveball throws, transfer Pokemon, and then catch more Pokemon. Normally it would have been evolved to its final form, but since we don't have anything too specific there. Now, one of the things from Willow here, I think he's referring to some sort of shrine or something that I guess is something that's going to be coming up in the Pokemon Go game, perhaps part of that. I forget if it's called what's called Festival or Heritage or something like that. In any case, he says, "Have you heard about the strange door I found recently? I have a feeling we're in for quite an adventure." And I could not help but think of Super Mario Bros. 2, the Western version of that game, which the story does involve Mario climbing a staircase and going through a door and going into a strange world. Not probably what they were. I don't know if they were trying to tie that in. Although I did notice that one of the star tests was 120,000 Stardust. I'm not sure if that's a Mario 64 reference, where you have to collect 120 stars to beat everything in the game. But yeah, that worked out. Nothing too special here. Curveballs, having a variety of Pokemon, gave me options for which Pokemon I wanted to attempt that on. Generally, the curveballs are easier on Pokemon that are decently large, but also relatively close there to the camera. All right. So I did manage to complete all the tasks for this. This happened to be the 7th day on my field research, so I got to complete that and got a dino out of that. And actually, while I was eating lunch, there was a raid that came up for Glaceon. I managed to invite a few folks in, and we got that. Not the best stats ever, but you notice this is the holiday Glaceon, so it's got that little jingle bell bow tie thing around its neck, which they're still doing. So that was kind of fun, even though the stats weren't the best. And ice isn't a huge type anyway, so getting one or two more of those, even if they're just decent, is not the worst thing ever. But we didn't have too much trouble, as you can see there. We knocked it out with over half the time left. So thanks to everyone who helped out with that raid there. All right, and this gives you a loose idea. The rewards were pretty much what you expected there. Some experience and some other stuff. I forget exactly what the other three were there, but you know that usually the last step of a community day is all just taking in the rewards for what you've done there. So that should be about what you expect. All right, so the rest of that day, I did try and get a few more raids in to boost up, particularly since the Pokemon from last year's Community Day were available in raids. I did try and get some more Charmander and Porygon. I had a little bit of luck with that. And so on and so forth, and was able to get those counts up a little bit. But I actually spent most of the afternoon doing some board gaming and editing a podcast episode, which we'll talk about towards the end of this presentation. All right, so day 2. I knew I needed to get to a lot of raids to have any shot of completing the tasks because the only real way there's like really 2 ways they provide to get the old Pokemon from last year that would count towards the achievements. Now, you could hatch eggs, but that didn't count towards the count you had to get there, which is unfortunate. You either had to complete some research tasks that they had that were not tied to the thing there, and that got you some of the stuff for the current one for this year's Community Day, and also some stuff for last year, but that ended up not being all that helpful because you didn't have any real control about when they came up and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll have a lot of comments about how successful they were at getting people through the Community Day. And then, what else was there? Oh, and then you had the raid. So I figured I'd have to do a little bit of a travel, not too far here. So I have, lately I've been keeping this Galarian Slowbro on as my walk-along Pokemon in this game. I like the little arm cannon thing it has on there. I guess fair notice to the Super Metroid randomizer folks, if they could put that in. There's a Slowpoke sprite for the Link to the Past randomizer. I think you could do something here with Slowbro and make that a bit of a pair. But we hopped on the city bus and headed to, there you go, State Street in downtown Madison. Downtown Madison is kind of an ambiguous place. I've been here before. I think I definitely went here for Community Day or for Pokemon Go Fest weekend for Sunday to maximize my raid potential there. But you can see we're not too, our bus gets off not too far from the state capitol building there in Madison. So that seemed like a good place to go to encounter as many raids as possible. So I was there as well as certain parts of campus. Which was actually kind of neat. The UW campus is directly adjacent to downtown, so it kind of feels like one big agglomeration of buildings in a way. So it kind of makes downtown Madison maybe look, depending on how you count, bigger than it is. But as you can probably expect, downtown and campus have tons of stops and gyms and stuff, so that's a good place to sort of build things up there. And it was actually, I guess, for folks graduating that semester, it was graduation weekend / finals week over at UW. So there were a number of folks in cap and gown, actually, and congratulations to those folks. Let's see here. All right, so here's some of the stuff I did while I was there. You can see I did manage to find, this is an interesting gym, a skull statue. This is the one I battled remotely, so I didn't get a good look at it. And then, although I had finished the December 2021 Community Day, there were some other tasks like finding your voice that I'm still working on, and I managed to make some progress there. Sounds like we're going to have another encounter with Meloetta at some point. But you notice there I had to win some gym battles, battle in some raids, which I was planning on doing anyway, and beat some Team Go Rocket grunts. Now, lunch break on Sunday, not nearly as interesting. I went to the Chipotle on State Street. I really am sorry I didn't hit up like a more local Madison restaurant. I will try and do that next time. I'm in a neighborhood or something like that. I will definitely try and do that and show that like I did when I was in Middleton back in, I think, September. You can see I got a burrito there and a soft drink. So still tasted pretty good. And it was nice to have something warm on there. All right, so here's a place I visited. I think this place is actually not normally open on Sundays, but I think they were open in part because of the graduation weekend and stuff like that. So this is the Babcock Hall Dairy Store. So Babcock Hall, I believe, is an academic building on the university campus. And sort of the interesting thing about it is they have this store there that sells a lot of cheese products, as you can probably guess from the name Dairy Store. You can see some of the interior there. Sorry, I had to take the AR photo with Galarian Slowbro. There's actually some interesting stuff. There's like a tasting lab that they use for various things that was nearby and stuff like that. All I did was grab an apple juice and stuff, so I didn't partake of the best stuff there, but kind of a neat place on campus. Tons of those, of course. So yeah, continuing on that finding your voice, Meloetta's attention, I was able to complete those tasks you saw a slide or two ago, and I managed to catch a Cryogonal. Now I thought this was one of the winter specials, like it had an alternative design. Maybe I'm right about that, maybe I'm not. But it was new to my Pokedex, so maybe that was the reason it showed up in Silhouette instead. But I did manage to actually catch one there, which was kind of nice. At this point, I had actually walked pretty far west through most of the campus and down what's called University Avenue, which is a decent-sized street in Madison. As you can imagine, it leads towards the university campus. So before I go to overall thoughts, but that kind of actually came to the end of it right there. I walked about 7 miles yesterday. And in fact, for this week, I got almost to the 25-kilometer mark in Pokemon Go. So I almost got that second level of bonuses that I've done maybe once or twice. So I obviously got a lot of walking there. Now I was getting kind of tired, and this is still Wisconsin. I still wanted to make sure I didn't miss too much of the Packers game yesterday, which, if you didn't know, ended up being pretty exciting. So I actually, yesterday, not only did I have my phone with me, I also had a portable radio so that if I were out later, because the game started at about 3:30 and the community day went till 5, I could still take care of some stuff there. But I eventually did take the bus back home and stuff like that. All right, so here, did actually have a pretty good time, except, yeah, so one of my overall thoughts for this community day, first of all, they did not provide adequate opportunities to finish last December's community day. For the record, I didn't even finish the Charmander. I didn't get enough raids of those. I got several. I'm probably like 1 or 2 off. One reason I was a lot further on that track when you saw in an earlier slide is just because like a week or so ago, there was a bunch of starters spawning, and that helped me get my Charmander count up. No such luck with Porygon. I was starting from 0 on Saturday. Did manage to get 3 or 4 of those, but just raids, you know, even though, because you have like a dozen, like 11 or so different Pokemon, even with so many gyms in the downtown and campus areas, I just wasn't able to, you know, there was a pretty good shot every time that a raid battle would spawn and I wouldn't get it, one of the ones I needed. And, you know, I could try and catch an Electabuzz. I saw a couple Electabuzz I could have tried to catch. But that doesn't help me, because I assume that's the 4th step is Electabuzz and Magmar and something else maybe. But unfortunately, that just didn't really. But I can't work on that until I get to that step. So you wound up with that. And like I said, the eggs don't count. There are some tasks that lets you get 1 of each of this year's and last year's Pokemon, but you know, you don't get the thing when you have the thing there. It doesn't count. This, as far as I know. So if I were talking to Niantic here, I said, I think you just got to do like a makeup weekend for 2020. I know it's been over a year, and yet, you know, eventually I will get those down, hopefully. Porygon seems to be kind of a rare spawn, so we'll see what my next opportunity for that is. But I'll certainly get the Charmander done, and then I think Electabuzz and Magmar appear as, like, normally this weekend they were like level 1 raid bosses. Normally they're like level 3, I think, but I'll have a shot there at least. I'll have to buff up my, you know, ground and water teams to do that. So yeah, but I don't want to pin all the blame on Niantic. I could have been a bit more aggressive. I still don't think I would ever have had a chance of finishing. Certainly not step 4, and probably not even the Porygon side of things. I think I still need like 10 or 11 more Porygon to finish that task. So that's going to be a while. Now, on my own side, though, I could have prepared a bit better. Like I got a haircut yesterday, but they were able to squeeze me in for a quick trim, but I had unfortunately booked the wrong location. So thanks to them for trying to work me in there, and I got at least a partial haircut for the holidays, which is good. But I also could have charged my power bank better. I thought I had it more charged than it actually was. And, you know, this is one of the first times in a while I've been outside for an extended period, and I wasn't too terribly cold, but I don't know, I'll have to work on my setup there since we've got still 2 more months of winter. 2 or 3, depending on how you count, I suppose. You know, and I'll have to figure out where I'm going for the next couple months on Community Day. So, yeah. I did appreciate that the tasks for this year's Community Day were less ambitious. I think that is definitely visible there. I think I was far from the only person who did not finish Community Day last year. So that is a thing. If there was some sort of makeup thing for that between, you know, then and now, let me know. But it still feels like they have to do more. I'm sure they have some way of keeping track of how many people have finished their stuff there, and they, you know, I managed to get some of those things on there. Let's see. And then I still made progress on other goals, though. So it wasn't a complete waste or anything like that. I don't regret going out. I just wish they had a better system for the thing. Because if, like, the eggs counted, I'd incubate I'd get a bunch of those eggs and incubate them and just kind of hope, and that would give me, you know, especially with I think they had half hatch distance, I could have gotten through a lot of those. But because they did not count, I definitely hatched the Porygon, and it did not count towards my total, so I know that. I'm not sure how much programming that would take on their end, but yeah, so kind of a mixed bag. I did enjoy myself and had a lot of fun and got a lot of exercise, especially yesterday. But you know, like I said, I think it could have been better. First world problems, not being able to finish all the tasks, but still would have liked something a little bit better there. All right, well, we got a few more things to talk about with this weekend. Let's see. First off, So a week or so ago, I managed to update, once again, the Pokemon Tcg Randomizer. So if you're not familiar with this, this is a piece of software that takes the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy and shuffles a lot of aspects. You can shuffle moves, you can shuffle randomize HP and retreat cost and weakness and resistance and stuff like that. It was originally developed by someone by the name of X Crystal, and last year I started enhancing it, and I've been enhancing it for a little over a year now. And one thing I've been doing is adding more playable characters. And in fact, just recently I added Ronald, the rival from the game. So there was an initial one where I made it so that you could just play as him and your rival would still be Ronald. But I had some time in the following days to fully update it so that now you can play as Ronald, and then Mark, or Marcus, as I've spelled it here so it has the same number of characters, is your rival and takes the place of that. He has all the same text otherwise, so it's not as if the thing there. So I guess I've effectively invented blue version of Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy. The other thing I added was a new custom coin. You can use the Great Rocket coin, which normally is from Pokemon Tcg 2, Card GB 2 or whatever it's called. It only came out in Japan because it was such a late Game Boy Color game. I can kind of see why they didn't bring it over. But those are some new updates there. But yeah, I swapped the sprites. I swapped most of the colors. I had a little trouble with this, but you can see here, this is the intro scene where you first meet your rival. And you can see now it's Marcus saying, "Hey, what? It's you, Ronald. What are you doing?" So that was kind of a neat little project to make all the necessary changes and try and get the colors as close as I could. I had some problems with your rival's overworld sprite. Didn't quite work out the way I had hoped. All right, well, we got some more stuff to talk about. Yes, Pokecasters Network updates. So here's what we got. So first off, I put out a new episode last night. That's another reason I didn't do this live stream last night. Is just because I wanted to get that out. So this is Pokepress Digest Podcast, episode 51, discussing the music of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Red/Blue Rescue Team. So this, of course, is the first of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games that originally came out on the Game Boy Advance and DS and were remade last year for the Switch, which gave us a lot to talk about. So that is out, and I really recommend that. Let's see. And then next one, Poke Science, sort of the flagship podcast, I guess you could say, of PCN. They're doing a regional review, which I guess they're sort of explaining different geographical regions and how that sort of interplays in the Pokemon world and stuff like that. Then we have Critical Hit Monthly. Looks like they've got A Dark Past Brought to Light, episode 54. Let's see. Welcome to the World of Pokemon did an episode on Tentacruel. And then Not a Scratch, Arc 4, Episode 4, This World's a Bit Different. Kind of going back to that door comment I made a bit earlier. Probably not related to Super Mario Bros. 2 either, but I couldn't help but make that comparison. So those are some things you can definitely check out. Like I said, obviously I recommend mine, but do take a look at the rest of these if they are interesting to you. That should be the last slide. All right, indeed it is. All right, so sorry about the sort of lack of a proper heads-up display here. This is probably going to be the modus operandi for at least a little bit here, since I cannot seem to hook up a camera and a microphone to the device I'm using. I'm using a tablet here to get the audio actually in here while I manage the presentation on my computer. So yeah, but thank you very much for watching, and see you around.